Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. So, I want you to try and imagine something for a second. Picture yourself just standing at your local bus stop in the crisp, quiet air of the early morning. Well, today, we're going to be exploring the wonderfully bustling city of Athens, but we're doing it with a twist. We aren't looking at it through the eyes of a newcomer. Instead, we're experiencing it entirely through the observant eyes of an elderly woman who is simply waiting for her morning bus. Honestly, it's such a brilliant way to understand exactly how a city welcomes its newest arrivals. Right, so put yourself in her shoes. You're standing at your usual spot. Maybe you're just kind of lost in your own thoughts, right? When suddenly, the morning atmosphere is broken by a voice. Excuse me, do you know where Arkanon Street is? And that right there is the hook. Her quiet, totally predictable morning routine is pleasantly interrupted by a young man named Nicholas. She immediately hears the slight hesitation, that unfamiliar cadence in his voice. And in a split second, she has a choice to make about how she's going to respond to this stranger. So let's dive into part 1, Morning at the Bus Stop.
To really get this, before the encounter even happens, we need to understand the physical environment this woman is standing in. It's this fascinating hour of sensory contrast. The city is just barely waking up and stretching its legs, but the streets, they already have traffic. She's standing there as a quiet observer to this daily clash. The total stillness of the dawn is literally already being overtaken by the mechanical, rushing reality of Athenian city traffic. This is her everyday world, but she's about to watch it collide head-on with someone else's very first day.
Which brings us to part 2, the young man with the suitcase. Her attention shifts away from the morning traffic and zeroes in on the newcomer approaching her stop. She quickly takes this sort of mental visual inventory. She sees a small suitcase, a backpack, and, perhaps the biggest giveaway of all, he's clutching a piece of paper with an address written on it. I mean, that is the universal uniform of a new arrival, isn't it? She absolutely doesn't need him to tell her his life story. This quick visual checklist instantly marks him as someone who has newly arrived and someone who definitively does not know his way around. And what happens next really illustrates her deep sense of empathy. Think about it. He's in a totally unfamiliar area. Maybe a totally unfamiliar country. It would be completely natural for fear of the unknown to just take over. But she looks at him and she doesn't see fear. She senses that this young man, despite lugging those heavy bags and looking a bit lost, is actually driven by a profound curiosity about the city. He's not shrinking away from the waking noise at all. He's taking it all in with open eyes. And that realization entirely dictates how she decides to interact with him.
Now let's look at part 3, answering slowly and clearly.
This is the moment she really steps up. It's fascinating to analyze her deliberate, welcoming response. You see, she doesn't just bark out directions, she smiles and explains slowly. That smile, that is a conscious contribution to a newcomer's comfort. By intentionally choosing to slow her speech down, she's validating him. She knows he's working overtime to process a new environment, probably even a new language, so she acts as an anchor for him. She doesn't rush him, she gives him the incredible grace of a slow, clear explanation.
Let's actually walk through the precise direction she gives him. Step 1, go straight. Step 2, pass the traffic light. Step 3, turn right. It's incredibly logical, incredibly grounded. And she caps off these clear directions with a really vital, reassuring note. It is not far. It's like she's mentally walking the path right alongside him, making absolutely sure the geography of this new place doesn't feel insurmountable. Let's wrap things up with part 4, Athens as a great school. Nicholas thanks her, and their brief interaction wraps up. But as she stands there watching him walk away, she knows exactly the overwhelming sensory environment he's walking directly into. He's about to be hit by an absolute symphony of chaos. We're talking fast-talking people, cars honking their horns, bakeries loudly throwing open their doors, and cafes bustling to prepare that morning coffee. She gave him this beautiful, slow, quiet introduction, but she knows the city's about to crank the volume all the way up. She's watching him dive headfirst into this incredibly vibrant, intense reality. As she watches him navigate the pedestrians and the cars, it becomes so clear that learning a new language and culture isn't just something you do from books in a quiet classroom. True education happens out there. It happens when you're completely immersed in the chaotic, fast-paced voices of the city. She knows that Michales' real education is beginning right now, out on those noisy pavements she just pointed him toward. Which really drives home the central, just beautiful theme of this story. Athens will become his great school. And what's so poignant about looking at this entire event through her eyes is the realization that she, this kind, observant elderly woman at the bus stop, was actually his very first teacher. Her brief, slow, smiling interaction was his introductory lesson in this vast educational landscape.
She taught him that the city, for all its intense noise and crazy traffic, can also be warm and deeply welcoming.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. But before we go, I really want to leave you with a question to ponder. Who was your first teacher in a new city? Think back to a time when you arrived somewhere completely unfamiliar, armed with nothing but a suitcase and maybe a piece of paper with an address. Who was that first person to smile, speak slowly, and point you in the right direction? It's a pretty wonderful reminder of the power of our everyday interactions, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this story through a totally new lens. Keep learning, keep being curious, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.